3, 2, 1. And now we're recording. Welcome back to the first edition of the How to Play interview series. We're starting off with the greatest idea man to ever enter the interviewer's chair. The person who came up with this very concept. Put your hands together. We won't know if you do or don't, but put them together anyways. For live, he's here.
I'm supposed to say something. Hey guys.
Live, you were just telling me about how today was a rough day because you wasted $40. I didn't let you finish because I wanted you to say it to the people. What happened?
Okay, well, so this is a World of Warcraft story. So my character's
Love
name
those.
in World of Warcraft, or one of my characters' name, is Med. This
Okay.
name is very dear to my heart. So
Is he a medic?
no, he's not medic. He's a warlock.
Badass.
Sure. But essentially, what I did is I server transferred him to a server where somebody is already named Med. So I changed his name to Meed, or I should. So now it's Mead, and now I hate him.
Okay.
And now and then I server transferred him back to my original server, and I changed him back to wait. Oh fuck.
So he's back to med.
Back to Med, and that's $40 gone essentially. Which
So like it's $20 each way.
yeah. Uh
Let me ask you this. When you decided to move him from server A to server B, did you already know there was a med on
no.
server B?
So I kind of got caught off guard.
That sucks.
Yeah, I kind of like forgot about that whole thing because I actually did check on a different name, and that name was fine. So I was like, oh, it's okay. But I didn't check Med.
Man, I can't believe that you have to spend your $20 and then it's like, actually, sorry, we have a med already. You can screw off. We got your $20.
Well, I mean, it is kind of my fault, but like, yeah, it's it,
Yeah, I just especially because you moved it back to your original server afterwards.
yeah,
Like,
it's literally a waste, and like, I don't know. It's unfortunate. Let's just say
maybe
that.
maybe you just think of it like another $40 to support a game that gave you a lot of enjoyment and helped to form you into the person you are today.
No, I hate Activision.
Well, shit.
It's to me, there's no net positives in this. This is a complete waste of money, and I'm
Well,
sad.
I am curious. Like, what's the origin story behind med? Like, what makes that so important to you?
Hmm. Well, I mean, he's a warlock. He's a character, but the reason he's
Yeah.
so important is because he's actually my main in classic WoW, which is like the original version of WoW. I like remade him in that game.
Oh,
Uh,
like the new classic?
yeah, like the new classic that came out like what 2019.
Yeah, yeah. Pretty
Yeah,
recently.
and my character's name there was Med, and it was the same character, just different like versions of the game. Uh, yeah, and I spent a lot
So,
of time on him, and
was med also your guy back in the day, World of Warcraft?
somewhat, somewhat, not as much as he is like now, you know, like.
Something happened
Hmm.
in the interim to level up med in your eyes. Some great experience
It's,
happened.
I
That's what
mean,
I'm
I
thinking.
wouldn't call it a great experience, just a very long experience.
That's World of Warcraft in a nutshell.
It was a very long experience, and I spent a lot of time with him. Let's just say that.
Okay, okay. Well, it's a good segue because one of the first things I wanted to ask you about, uh, speaking of origin stories, online handles, where's this stuff come from? Live, Lieutenant Lemons, like, what's the deal with that?
Like my name?
Yeah, like your internet
Oh,
name, your
well,
homie's name.
I think Lieutenant Lemons came from someone else. Uh,
Okay.
I think it was like a family friend, and I don't know, somehow we ended up at like fruit squad or whatever, where we have like Lieutenant Lemons, like Major Mango, like Captain.
Corporal
Yeah,
Pineapple.
shit. Like Corporal Pineapple doesn't work. It has to be the same like letters, like LL.
Oh.
Lieutenant Lemon.
All right, fine then. All right.
Yeah, come on. Shit,
I hadn't picked up on the pattern yet, you know?
uh,
What about President
President
Pineapple?
Pineapple. I mean,
Yeah.
I want to call president like a military rank, but I.
It is in
Well,
America.
yeah.
He leads the all the shit.
Well, he's a different. He's different. He's not exactly that. I guess. I mean,
If Justin Trudeau wanted to sick like all 12 of Canada's soldiers on someone, could he just do it?
I don't think so. It's kind of cracked.
All right, well, things are just kind of different up there then.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I never thought about it that
So
way.
there was a whole squad. There was a whole squad of these alliterative fruit military men, and you were just one of these guys.
Yes.
What happened to the rest of them, man? Where'd they go?
They still exist in like the universe. They're just
So like, they're out there.
my family friends, yes. The same people that I talked to in the past, they're still out there.
Do they still go by the same
I don't think so.
the same
I don't
names? You
think
think?
so. I think one of them is kind of close, Captain Regular.
Oh,
Maybe.
okay.
I don't
All
know. I'm
right.
not too sure actually.
I think that's a pretty sick name, Captain
It
Regular.
ain't bad. I'll give it that.
Guy eats a lot of yogurt. I'll tell you that.
Yogurt's good.
What about live?
What about live?
What's the deal there?
Oh. Oh,
Like the
well,
name
that
live.
I think that was specifically just like an edgy phase. And it was like what? It was like 2015, 2014, and I was like, I'm edgy now. I'm in high school. I realized that life isn't like rainbows and kittens, and I'm so deep now.
Sure.
And then I named myself to a four-letter lowercase live because I'm so edgy, and that's I don't know. And when I joined this Discord, I think that was like at the end of my lifespan or whatever. So I just kind of
Okay, yeah.
stayed live for the entire time. And my Discord name is also live because I that's when I created like a Discord was when I was using that Steam alias.
It's pretty interesting, right? How like when you meet people, the name that you have at that moment, it always becomes almost assigned to like the way that they think of you, the way that they remember you. And even if you have trying to move past live and other aspects of your life, these folks here, it's live.
Yes, is live
And that's
forevermore.
okay. You know, maybe there's some good memories attached to those crazy, turbulent high school times.
Could be worse.
Are there any standout, crazy, edgy live high school memories that help to form you into the modern life today?
I don't I don't think so. High school memories. I mean, I can tell you about why I hate. I mean, there's an anime called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Uh,
Okay.
and I fucking despise that anime, and I've never watched it, not once.
Strong
I
opinion then.
fucking despise that anime.
That you haven't seen.
But I haven't seen it once, and in fact, I've heard
Okay.
that it's actually pretty good. Like,
Now
everybody's like, "Oh, it's pretty good."
I'm gonna ask you why you don't despise it. I'm gonna ask you about that. But before I ask you about that, I just want to point out that often you see like a little kid,
Hmm.
right? He's like, nah. He's like, someone's making
Yep,
something for
that's the
dinner.
noise I make.
He's like, nah. He's like, nah. I don't want to
Hmm.
eat that. And the parents like, listen, you've never even had this before. You've never had this before. And the kid's like, nah. That's that's what you sound like right now.
There's more to the
Just
story.
saying.
I just want to. You cut me
And now
off
I
and
want
you
to ask you,
called me a
what
child.
is the more to the story? What
The
is the more
more
to
of
the
the
story? Tell me.
story, there were these two people who would sit. So this was a lunch break where I didn't have any of my like normal friends there. So I would always sit with these like kind of like random like large-ish group of like randoms that I like kind of knew but
Okay.
not really. And these two fucking animals, right? These fucking like they would always talk about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and they'd keep on like talking like, "Oh, who's the best JoJo?" And like every single day they'd start debating like who's the best JoJo. And after 4 months, man, like my mental just collapsed. Like there's nothing else to say. Like I was so tired of hearing about like JoJo. No, it was too much. I couldn't handle it. And from then on, I had an unnatural hatred, or perhaps natural. I don't know. For
So these guys, they just drove it out of you. They just drove it
yep,
into the ground.
100%. Like I think like a good idea is like they're the worst of the fandom. Like you know how like you look at a fandom and then there's like those like really extreme like people that are like cracked and like you don't want to talk to them because they're fucking because they like write paragraphs as to why like one thing is like like extreme fans. I don't know.
Sure, of
Extreme
course.
fans.
Every it's always the vocal minority in
And
almost anything.
like those were like in real life though. Like I don't know what to say. Like they
Were these guys like good
no,
people? Were you
no.
friends
Oh
with them at
god,
all?
no. Oh god. Oh god, no. I just like sat like well like at the very start I wasn't like too against them, but like I don't know. After all those months of mental abuse,
Just you're trying to
I
sit there
hate them.
eating
Like there's nothing else to
your
say.
peanut butter sandwich and you're just trying to chew loud enough not to hear these MFers,
Yeah,
man.
it was rough. It was a rough time in my life.
Yeah, I mean I haven't seen that show, but anytime that some guy who you don't like is so passionate about something, you kind of just have to hate that thing by
Well,
proxy.
that's the thing. Like I didn't hate them at the beginning. Like I started to hate them because of their love for that horrific show.
Well, now wait a minute. You disliked them because they were passionate about something? Aren't you
Because
passionate
they
about that?
talked about it for 4 fucking 6 months every single day, started debating it over and over and over again about the same topic every single day. You can be passionate about something, but when you debate the same thing over and over again, and they were like seriously debating, it's a drag.
You're like, come on already.
Make
That
up
obviously this JoJo's better. Shut the hell up already.
exactly. Make up your fucking mind. I think one of them could literally stop time or some shit. I don't know. Like, wouldn't that guy just win by default? Like, yeah, and then like there was like arguments. It'd be like, no, 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 no. Like, what about the moon
I
aligned
mean,
at like the different fucking corners of the galaxy? Like, oh,
like I've heard of that show. I've never seen it. I have no idea. A guy who can stop time? That sounds
that
pretty
sounds pretty
powerful.
powerful. That's what I'm saying. But they just wouldn't believe
Like
me.
he just stops time and like leaves. He just
That
walks away and that's it. The show's over.
that's
Credits
what
roll.
I'm
He's done.
saying, man. Like, but like no.
It's just over with. Well, I mean, if that's not a show you're into, that's fine. And you're never gonna give it a shot. I think that's fair. These people deserve that, to have ruined it for someone.
Hmm.
What about shows you do like? Like, are there any shows that have really struck you? Man, I love that show. I'll always watch that show. Anything that you talk about for 4 months?
4 months. Show that I
Like,
like. I don't know. I guess I can. I mean, I'm a big fan of The Office, but that's like a really basic show. Like everybody's a fan of The Office.
it's
A
classic.
classic. It's
That's
a
a classic.
classic show. Uh,
Hell yeah.
a show I can talk about for a very long time though. Like not necessarily I like, but Game of Thrones. Game of
Ooh,
Thrones was a
ooh.
show I was very passionate about.
Did you What was your introduction to that? Did you like read the books or
No,
did you
I just
like
I think my brother watched it like around like season 2, season 3. Yeah, I think it was season 3. And then I don't know, I just started watching it and I was like young back then. I was like 13 when I first started watching, like
Ooh,
14 when I first started watching Game of Thrones, because
risque
my
content.
brother watched it, and it was really good, and it was really fucking
Yeah.
good, and then it got really fucking bad,
Yeah. Yeah, it
and
did, man.
and I can talk about that for a very long time, how it got so bad, and like that whole like spiral.
Well, I think how it got bad, that's something that's probably been talked about and people are aware of. But what I'd be curious about is what you think about why it got bad. Like, what were the creative motivations of the team making the show that led to its failure?
Just rushing it out. I think like a lot of it was, I think, rushing it out. Uh, I think another problem was like they ran out of books. Like that's a. I feel like everybody uses that one, but like I do feel like when they ran out of like the books, like they couldn't like build around the books. They kind of like really went over like kind of like they started to make everything like a lot more flashy and less about like the politics and shit. Like
Yeah.
past season 4 or 5, like that's when it started to get a lot like less like between all the characters and like what they do, and like more about like, wow, look at this like battle, or like look how cool like this scene was, because the last season was all about like the visuals, right? Like there was no story there, like that.
Yeah, they had to really lean on all the
Yeah, and like
explosions.
none of it even made sense. Like it was rushed out. Like it was like the last season was just rushed out. Like it was like 6 episodes long, and those 6 episodes was like two of them people just like said hi to each other. One of them like the battle that like everybody was waiting for a very long time. Then another couple episodes of like waste of time, and then another like battle that everybody was waiting for, like in the span of like half an episode.
It's bizarre, right? I agree with you. Everything you've said about that for sure. And I feel like the people that were running the show, they built up, they had all of this potential, like you said, from the books, and whatever it was, they decided just to go ahead. I don't care about nothing. Let's just do it. And they didn't know what they were doing, and everything blew up. But nobody died. Too afraid to kill anybody.
Yeah, dude, that's what really fucking got me. Like they actually just
And like
did not even bother. Like they just like
yeah.
I don't really want to like spoil things, I guess, but like there were times when
Oh, right, that's
people
true.
should have fucking died, and they're just like, ha ha, like they skip away. They like, like it shows like one person being surrounded, and then it like goes to a different scene, and then it comes back, and all of them are like magically dead, and the guys are completely fine. What?
Right,
What?
it's
What?
like
What?
we,
What?
we can't even explain this with choreography,
Like what
but
happened?
let's just
And then like all the rules they made during like Game of Thrones, where just like like dragons are this powerful or whatever, or like this is this powerful, and then it fucking and then like you see like their power. The man can't even burn through a fucking like stone wall.
yeah, and I think, in my opinion, one real tragedy of that is a lot of people, like yourself, it sounds like, the only exposure to these characters is through the show. And now these characters have a completed arc, right? Like, it's not as if there's going to be more Game of Thrones anymore on TV. But now it's like, how do you even respect, like, Jon Snow the same way when his story ends in this, like, ridiculous, like,
Ah, Jon
passive.
Snow is a fucking tragedy.
So, what I'd be curious about is, like, that's kind of such a disappointment. Are there any like fictional characters that you really like looked up to that didn't end up disappointing you by the end of their arcs? Like people that you're like, man, that's a character right there.
Looked up to or like really enjoyed as
Like,
characters.
hey man, you can be inspired by fictional things, but I'd say you interpret the question however you like.
Mm, Well, okay. Well, I mean, I feel like half my characters are gonna come from World of Warcraft, because I mean, World of Warcraft is it's a very
It's true.
broad
It's
game
true.
with a lot of story. I don't know actually. Like even in World of Warcraft, I don't think I'm fully satisfied with a lot of endings because the story kind of dropped off after a certain point.
Well, ultimately, I mean, fiction can't often hold a candle to real life. What about real historical figures that you're like, damn, that's a
That's
guy
a
right there,
guy. I think
or a girl,
or
or a
girl
girl,
or girl. Okay, okay.
or a girl, whatever we're just with.
Uh,
I don't know.
a real life historical figure that's kind of a vibe. The Buddha,
Yes.
like from
Ooh,
Buddhism.
yeah.
Like that guy's kind of a vibe. Like man, he was like a prince, right? I think in like some Indian like kingdom. And he went outside, like outside of his like palace or whatever, like for the first time when he was like 19 or 20 or some shit, and he saw like all the suffering and shit. And he's like, "Wow, this kind of blows." Uh, and I don't know, he just like went on a mountain, just kind of like like I'm not like too familiar with it, but like he went on a mountain, he kind of like starved himself there or whatever, or like he meditated, right? And he came down the mountain,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just like, I was thinking about some stuff, and this is what I learned. And then from that a whole like religion was born, and it's like a very influential religion, right? Like, and
I think you say you don't know the story, but I think you told the story perfectly.
okay,
That's
close
based on
enough.
everything I
Yeah,
know
like
about it.
that's pretty much all I know about it. uh
I mean, you got the bits that are important to me as someone who's passively familiar with
and
Buddhism.
he just like came down, he's like, I was thinking about stuff, this is what I learned.
It's like all you guys, we could all be
And he, yeah,
nice.
and he just
We
kind
could
of
all be
like
nice.
he just kind of chilled. uh that guy's pretty cool, I think.
What's the? Are you like an identifying Buddhist
No,
yourself?
not at all. I'm not even close.
But the person's
But the person
fundamentals
like
or his
fundamentals and like the way he like got shit, like what he did and everything, and like the way he lived his life, I think is pretty cool. Um,
yeah, I'm with it.
definitely something to be learned from like the way he did shit, right?
Kind of
Yeah, like
minimalist
very
in a way.
minimalist. He's like, I think like some of the core tenets of like Buddhism obviously is like what he said, but it was like you gotta like let go of like expectations. Like there's suffering, there's pain, like nobody's denying that, but like, you know,
Are those tenets that you try to live by in your
not
own
at all.
life? Okay.
Not at all. I mean, maybe like indirectly, but not because like it's something he like not at all. Like maybe there's something similar, but like overall it's not it has I have like I don't think Buddhism influences me like at all.
So you think he's cool, but not cool enough to act
Nah,
like him.
dude, not that cool. We're different people, you know.
Okay. Is there anyone that is a historical figure that is cool enough for you to aspire to be more like?
Let me think about this.
I
Historical
know, catching you
figure.
off guard with these hard
Well,
hitting
like
questions.
I don't know, like I don't think so. I think I feel like it's kind of difficult. Like maybe broadly aspire to be like, oh, I want to be like Steve Jobs because he's successful, but not like Steve Jobs because he's a fucking like psychotic maniac sometimes. Uh,
Well, I don't. I guess to clarify, I don't mean like, oh, you're gonna like dress like this guy and get the same haircut and like talk in the same way and not like that. But if there's like, let's say you respected Steve Jobs' success or tenacity as an independent inventor or investor, then that'd be like a quality that is aspirational, perhaps. But I don't know. Fuck Steve Jobs. Who cares about him? He's dead.
he gone. Rip.
Yeah, he wasn't smart enough to start a religion like the Buddha. If only he'd done
Tough
that.
luck, man. You tried,
Yeah,
you
kind of missed
failed.
the boat on that one. You know, that's you're. It's not too late for you. You could start one.
I don't know. I feel like if I start a religion, it'll be way closer to like Scientology than anything else, and like that's something I do not want to make, son.
Oh, that's interesting. Why do you think it would be like that?
Because I don't know how else to create a religion. Like I don't think anybody's gonna care if you like live. Because like I feel like if Buddha was a guy like right now in this day and age, he'd be way more of a philosopher where like it's just like a philosophy than it is like a religion. Because Buddhism is like very like I don't want to say empty as a religion, but it doesn't have any like it doesn't have any like strong like theistic moment like it doesn't have like a god or
That's
anything.
very true.
It's like a very
Yeah.
like it feels more like a lifestyle than anything else, right? It's not like a
Oh, I. It's
it's
grounded.
very
Yeah.
grounded, yeah. And like that's always kind of fascinated me about it where it's like it's very like especially from like a westerner point of view, I guess, because I grew up with like Catholicism and like the other thing I knew was like Judaism and like Islam and like these all have like very like
Right.
strict like religious like theocracy and like there's like all this shit going on and there's like fucking Bible and like lore and like all this crap and there's all this like theory and like whatever. But like Buddhism is just like very like light compared to that.
Yeah, there's not a lot like it. I mean, probably the closest thing is the people that would follow like
Yeah, like
Confucian's
Confucianism,
teachings.
where it's also more like a
Yeah.
vibe than like an actual like explanation for why like everything exists.
Which, for what it's worth, I mean, I super respect that. I think that the most important things to take out of personally traditional theological study is like how you treat other people and how you live your life, which is basically what Buddhism's all about anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I vibe with that too. I
But I don't know if that's what
well,
Scientology's about.
Scientology is just fucking crazy. Like, there's nothing else to say. Like,
So you think you'd go not like Judeo-Christian and not Buddhist. You'd go
I'd go
crazy
fucking yeah, I'd
Scientology
go
route.
insane. Like, I don't know. Like, if I had to create a religion, like if I had to, and like, I was like,
Right now you have
I
to.
was like,
Let's lay it out.
like my brain was like fully working on this shit. Like, I would honestly like make like a Facebook group and like make some cracked ass like some really out of the world ideas and just like feed it to those like like Facebook groups that like eat everything up, right?
Oh, like the
Yeah, like the
conspiracy guys.
conspiracy, like those people, like I don't know.
And then what you're gonna like? So you have this group of whatever 10,000 Facebook weirdos following you. Then what
That's a
do you do?
religion. I'm happy with that. I
That's
kick up. I
it.
kick. You sit back and I'm like, I made a religion. 10,000 is a lot of people.
I don't really. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of crazy folks on Facebook. I don't use Facebook, so I don't know. But I feel like that's a if you posted a whole bunch of stuff and then like paid to advertise it like a little
Hmm
bit, I bet you that could be done. I don't really
To a
know though.
certain degree, I think.
I mean, even 100 is actually a decent amount of people.
That's a cult status though.
If you've got 100 people that are like reading all of your stuff about how whatever nonsense you're typing in, then
You live on
that's pretty
giant
legit.
turtles and shit.
Now wait a minute. I think that one's taken.
Is it? Fuck. All right. How
I
about
think
we
isn't
live
that
on
is that
giant
Discworld?
porcupines? And the mountains are the
Ooh,
spikes and shit. I don't know.
holy
Yeah,
shit!
there
There
we
you
go.
go,
Now
man.
now we're getting somewhere.
Whoa, that's pretty much it. And plate tectonics is just like their defense mechanism.
Exactly. And then when we have earthquakes, it's actually the it's him like rolling around. I don't know.
Sounds
It is
adorable.
adorable. That's an adorable
Porcupines
view of the
are
world.
just they're just cute, man. They're just cute. Uh, which reminds me, I was curious to ask you, do you have like favorite animals? Like, what's the deal with that, man?
I like cats. I like cats a lot.
House cats?
Yeah, I like house cats. Bigger cats too, but like, I can't have a bigger cat. Well, I can, but they could eat me. But yeah, house cats. Unfortunately, I am like allergic to house cats. So
Oh.
I don't think I'll ever be able to have a house cat unless I maybe get like a really like I don't know, they're like anti-allergen like cats, but they're like not as
Like short
yeah, like
hair or some
short
shit
hair
like
and
that.
shit, but like I don't think it's worth it at that point. I like
What do you like about
I
cats?
don't know. They're just nice to look at. They're lazy bastards sometimes. I really like the fact that they're lazy. I think like I have like a connection with anything that's lazy, which is why I also like sloths.
Ooh.
Because they're also lazy, right? Because like when you think of a cat, you're just thinking of a guy who's like or a cat, and they're just like lying down, yeah,
In the
in the
sun
sun, just
somewhere.
like closing their eyes, like meow sometimes.
I like the cats that you pet them like once and then they just leave.
Yeah, just casually, they're
That
like,
happens
I
to me all the time. It's like you might have gotten something out of this, but I didn't.
wasted my
Bye.
time.
I gotta go
Yeah,
lie down somewhere. I
got
got stuff
more
to do.
important places to lie down.
Well, I can't lie down here anymore. It's not cool anymore since you showed up.
Good cat, good cat.
Man, that's pretty much exactly. I'm glad you said that because those are very similar to the same things that I like about cats. So we have a deep mutual respect
Exactly.
of our feline friends.
Yes.
We're gonna transition here into something that I'm gonna call the lightning round.
Hmm.
And what I'm gonna want you to do, like, I'm just gonna rattle off some nouns. All right, rattle off some
All
nouns,
right.
and you are just gonna give me a couple sentences. Like, do you like it? You hate it? Yay, nay? What's the story here? All right. Garden gnomes.
Hate them.
Why, man?
Mostly because of that really stupid meme, that gnome. You've been. How does it go? It's like, I'm not a gnolf, I'm not a gnoblin, I'm a gnome, and you've been gnomed. I don't like that meme. It was too
You know it
much.
pretty well, though.
There
You
was
know it pretty
too.
well.
It was everywhere at one point. It's not like I mean I guess I shouldn't say I hate gnomes. It's more like I just it's like it's you know gnome. Also, they're weird.
Not
Like
just
I wouldn't want to have
they
like an
are
I wouldn't
weird.
like that's another thing. Like even besides like that like whole shebang, they're just weird. Like what the fuck? Hello, I don't want this like tiny human in my lawn.
Yeah, it's I don't know what they're doing there all the time. Like, if they've got beards, but they're 2 feet tall or less.
Well, they're gnomes.
Are they kids? Are they
They're
adults?
adults. They're it's like a new race. Like there's like mythical like races like dwarves, right? And then gnomes is like like even smaller than dwarves, and that's how they look like.
Doesn't really seem fair. And they just have to live in gardens.
Yes, it's the
Yeah,
only
fair
place
enough.
they're welcome.
What
Those animals.
what about rain dances?
Uh, rain dances. I'm not sure. Like dancing in the rain.
No, it's boy, I guess I thought this would be a common so at least in Native American culture and like other indigenous cultures, I think like there's a propensity to believe that maybe certain dances outside and certain weathers would help rain come, help crops grow.
Oh yeah, and like Egypt, I think also had that. Ancient
Sure, yeah.
Egypt.
I think plenty of parts of Africa do. I
Yeah.
think.
Honestly, no real thought. I guess it could look cool sometimes. I don't really have an
Massive.
opinion. Yeah.
Sure.
I
Well,
think it's
hey, I mean,
stupid, obviously, but
what?
well, no,
Wow.
cause like
I
it
mean, they're not
doesn't work. It
meteorologists
doesn't work.
live. Come
Well,
on. They're,
listen, I understand.
can you prove that?
Can I prove what? That rain dance doesn't work? Listen,
No, I know you.
listen.
I
My
know what you're
dad
saying.
thinks that he can change the weather for some like ungodly reason. My dad has like a lot of cracked ideas. He cannot change the weather.
Is that a real anecdote? Your dad thinks he can change the weather?
Dead ass. He thinks he can change the weather.
I gotta know more. I gotta know more. Tell me
Uh,
more.
okay. Well, we were. I don't know where we were. I think we were just like eating for his birthday or some shit, and he's like, today's a sunny day because I wanted it to be a sunny day or whatever. Right, and it's like, everybody around's like, well, okay, like, yeah, but like it could have been a rainy day, like you never know. And then he went into this conversation where he's like, if I think really hard about it and I really want it to be a sunny day, or like really want it to rain, next day it'll rain. And he's like dead serious about it, like he's straight face. And I mean, I don't
Maybe
even know how to
he's
respond. Like,
huh. Maybe he's a really good like bullshitter, you
I
know?
the thing is, like, I've never seen my dad like bullshit. Like, he's never been one to like bullshit random shit. If anything, my dad has been one to like believe really absurd things where like, because he reads like not absurd, I guess, but like he reads a lot of like self-help books. He really likes those, right? So he's like really into that whole like self-improvement and shit, right?
How to change the weather in 7 days
So
or
like
less.
honestly, like he might have read it in a book where like I wouldn't be surprised if you read it like somewhere in a book and it's just kind of like if you really want it enough, like you can change the weather. And he's like, oh, okay. Because the thing is, like my dad's actually like really smart, right? Like I think he's super smart, but he's also got this like really weird like spiritual side to him where he's just like this can happen, that can happen, and this is just one of those things. Uh,
Well, I think a lot of people believe variations of that, where they think that if they think hard enough or believe hard enough that they can, influence the world around them. Like, oh, I'm gonna have a great day tomorrow, and then they have a good day.
well, yeah, but like having a great day is more of like a
A great sunny
oh,
day.
okay, that's too far.
Yeah, that's I mean, I totally am on board with the people thinking I'm gonna have a great day tomorrow shtick. Like, go for it. But thinking you can make it rain by thinking,
That's too far.
yeah, I don't know about that one, Chief. Dad sounds like a cool guy though.
He is.
You guys were like out and about when he was talking about this. He's like, you like going out doing something as a family.
Uh, yeah, it was his birthday, so we were like just eating at a restaurant.
Maybe he meant like if it was
No,
rainy,
dead
he
ass,
would have
a
stayed
hundred
home.
percent. No, dead ass. Like, because I asked him about this again, like a different time, where it was like bad weather. It was like bad weather, and we couldn't go on like some kind of like little ferry trip or whatever. I forgot what it was. It was like a boat, and it was like stormy, so we couldn't go. And he's like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, why didn't you change the weather now? It would have been really useful. And he's like, I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't like plan for this before. So like I'm
That's
pretty sure
awesome.
he thinks, but I only said that once because honestly, like I don't really want to like push him too hard on it.
No, that sounds like a really rough argument to have.
I don't really
Like,
want to like
imagine.
push him. So like after that, I just kind of like didn't really talk.
Okay.
Don't really talk to him about like that side of his powers. Let's just say.
Next time it's like a really beautiful day, I think you just got to be like, "Look, Dad, look how beautiful a day it is," and then just like turn to him and like say, "Thanks."
Thanks. Maybe.
And if he's like, "You're welcome, son."
I don't know. I feel like if I did that, he'd be like, "What do you mean? It's just a day." I don't know. I don't
Oh.
know. I don't know. He's a confusing man. He's got a lot of things.
Well, that's an enigmatic, belief for any person to have. That's for sure. Uh, I don't think we can delve any deeper into that cookie. So instead, I'm going to ask you about the banjo.
Banjo.
It's a musical
Uh,
instrument.
I know what the banjo is. What about the banjo?
Do you like it? Do you hate it?
Oh, we're still on this. Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think it's cute. Like a cute little instrument. Play the banjo.
Kind of dismissive.
I mean, to me, it's kind of like a budget guitar, right? I mean, it sounds different, but it's kind of close. It's kind of close to a guitar.
I mean, they both got strings.
Exact
Yeah.
same thing.
Both got a fretboard.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And I mean, I guess the reason I think it's like a small guitar is because it's used in a lot less than the guitar is.
Oh yeah,
Like it's a
definitely far
very like
less
yeah,
common.
far less popular instrument. But like I said, I think it's very cute because I think like the because the only people I've seen that play the banjo are like people who like play it for like literally fun. You know, like at a party, you'd play the banjo. Or specifically, my friend would play the banjo, uh, and he was really bad at playing the banjo.
Oh no! Oh
But I
no!
mean, like it's a vibe, right? Because it's a banjo. It's like a part. It's like a party. It's like a cute little trick, you know. Like check me out, I can play the banjo.
I mean, the thing about that is, I'm just imagining in my head the guy who's like, check it out, I can play the banjo. But didn't he already have the banjo on him, like clearly visible?
Well, no, this was like in our place. So he just went into his room and he's like, I'm gonna get the banjo.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm thinking like it's a party at someone else's house. He's like trying to impress a girl with like an unexpected skill, but he's got the banjo in his back the whole
He
time.
pulls
He
it
like
out of his fucking pocket.
whips it
Well,
out.
exactly. Well, that's
Whips it out.
another reason it could be cute because you can pull it out of your pocket. It's that small. It's a small enough
Whoa, where'd
thing.
you get that
You can
banjo?
like fit it down your pants, you know. So you pull it out of your pants, like in
Hey,
your
is that a
pant leg.
banjo in your pocket
Just
or?
happy to see.
I like that. Wristwatches. Wristwatches.
Just it's a style, but I'm not into that style.
You like know what time it is?
I mean, I have a phone.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I'm on the same boat.
uh,
Yeah.
I think it can look good on some people, you know. And I respect people who like are like, yo, I need like this Rolex and like they're like, look how sick this is. I think it does look good, but it's just not my style. I would never wear
Do
a
you like
wristwatch, but I respect people who do
other
wear it.
accessories? Other accessories like bracelets or whatever, anything?
I think necklaces are kind of cool, but that's kind of like a generic answer. I would. The thing is, I would also not wear a necklace. Uh, but I think like out of the things I could potentially wear, like accessories, I think a necklace would be.
But you don't
But I
actually
would
wear any.
never. Yeah, I would probably not wear a necklace or any accessories for that matter.
This man is just so confident in his outfit and in his style
Mm,
already. You don't need no
mm,
necklace.
yes, that's what I'm confident
I,
about.
I respect that. Respect the hell out of that. All right, we're almost through these. Almost through these. Quick nouns, random nouns.
Man.
What about the opera, dude?
No, no, not for me. Not for me. I think I I would listen to it on YouTube, but I would never go to an opera.
So, you listen to it on YouTube?
No, not really. Like I listen to like very little opera on YouTube. In like my totality on YouTube. You know, like the fact that I even like listened to a piece that was considered opera. Uh
I think it's pretty cool that you've listened to more than none, because that's definitely where I'm at.
yeah, but the thing is that like I would never go to opera. I think it's just like I think it's very like debatable if you're even gonna like any of the music, let alone be able to sit through the entire thing. And like I don't know. Usually it's a
Do you think people really like it?
yes,
Actually,
yes. I'm certain people love opera. I
I thought maybe they're like secret society meetings. They're like, all right, everyone left because the music's about to start. Let's like really
well, I
start
mean
talking.
that is exactly where the the Illuminati would meet if they had to meet, right? Like in the opera house. Of this, there is no surprise. Like high class. I don't know what would high class
With those like
like.
glasses on a stick, those like stick glasses.
Yeah, like monocles and shit.
Yeah,
Uh,
monocles. What?
monocles.
Why did monocles fall out of style? That's what I want to know.
Probably because I'm kind of inclined to say that they were never in style.
That bold
Like
words.
I feel like one guy wore a monocle one time, and then like forevermore, like some guy who made like a movie is like, I like fancy people wear monocles, fellas, right? Because he saw one guy wearing a monocle. Because like, why would you ever want to wear a monocle? It's
I
a
guess I
single
always
eye.
thought because they've got one bad eye and one good eye, right?
No, that's impossible. No,
No, it's
can't.
not.
Well, yeah, but then it's not popular. Like I don't know what to say. Like I don't think there's that many people with. Okay,
I mean,
actually,
I've never seen a monocle in real
there's a
life.
respectable amount of people, but like that you would just get like normal glasses. Is what I'm saying. Monocle is.
Yeah.
I mean, have you like I've always been like I remember I was trying to figure out how like monocles even stay on like the person, you know, because they're like a single like eye.
I think
You have
people
to
squeeze
squeeze
them
it
on.
on,
Like they're
yeah.
looking pissed all the
They
time.
you have to squish your eye to like hold it.
You get like a buff
Yeah,
face.
but like who in the right mind would ever do that? Like even if you're a member of high class society, like just don't wear a monocle. You know, like I don't know what to say. This is too far.
Maybe. Yeah, yeah. It seems like it would be very tiresome. You know, like having to squeeze your eyebrow like
Yeah,
that for 8 hours a day or more.
it sounds horrible. And like that's why I just don't think like they were ever popular. Like we just have this like weird like modern like you know like idea like through movies and shit where like some like sophisticated British guy in like the like early like Victorian era or like Victorian era in general, he wears a monocle. Why? I don't know. Just wears a monocle.
You think it's like a stereotype from Hollywood?
Maybe, maybe. I haven't seen many pictures of people in that era, so maybe I'm completely wrong. But to me, it
I
just
mean,
seems stupid. But I guess like there's a lot of historical stupid shit, so like it could totally be real
what I'd be curious about. I mean, you're a man about history. I would
to
feel.
some degree.
What other like mysteries or misconceptions do you feel like there are similar to the monocle? Where like we all know what a monocle is, but no one freaking wears a monocle. Is there anything else that strikes you like that people just think they know about history, but they don't actually know?
I mean, there. I feel like a lot of people don't know history at all. But shit, I fuck, dude. I have good ones, but like I completely forgot them. Because I swear to God, people have asked me like a similar question. Wait, let me think about this. Let me focus.
That's fine. You could think for 5 minutes, and then I could edit it so it sounds like you only thought for 3 seconds, and you'll sound so on point,
So on point.
so on
That
point. Now, granted, I don't know how to do that. I'll figure it out.
when the time comes, it's a possibility,
I'll
it's a
figure it out.
50-50.
It's like a 70/30.
70-30. Oof. Common historical misconceptions.
But you're good, dude. You're good to think. I uninstalled Alan Wake. I think that game was like 17 gigs and I never played it, so we're good.
Oh, fuck. I feel like give me a time period.
Okay. How about 1800s?
1800s. Boom, boom, bam, boom. No, it's more of a fun fact.
I love fun
All right.
facts.
Well, 1800s. Despite nobody really knowing about the Crimean War, it was arguably extremely important. Well, it's not arguably. It is an extremely important war. Uh, it was fought in like 1870 some 1880 something. Uh, this fun fact sucks.
It's not very fun if it's, if it's a
I'm
war.
just giving you a history lesson.
Oh no!
There's no
Oh no!
there's
It's a
no
war.
fun fact here.
It's like two soldiers. They're like, man, this is pretty fun, huh? It's a fun. It's a
It's all
fun
fun.
war.
Guys, dude, did you know this war is kind of fun?
This is awesome,
Uh,
man. I think that's a historical misconception that war is
war is
fun.
fun.
That's definitely
Feel like
a
that happens
misconception right there.
every time there's a war. People are like, "Hey, well, how bad can war be?" And then they come back from war and they're like, "Hey, war sucks.
Like, holy
That was
shit, that was
fucking
terrible.
bad." And then like the younger generation is like, "Dude, but I get to drive a tank. Maybe it's like
Yeah, I mean,
like 5% chance."
now they get to like eat a candy bar and drive a tank with a computer, right?
No, I don't think so. I think most tanks are still manned, if not all.
Excuse me, they could be woman.
Okay, I'm not manned as in, as in like there is a human driving it. But,
Oh, interesting.
oh God, not this.
No, we're moving past fake patriarchy gotcha language,
Gotcha.
obviously.
Your your
Which
reign
is
of terror is over.
but it's a tough
Oh,
thing because historical
oh,
misconceptions. Oh, he's got
I'll
one.
give you a
He's got
fun
one.
fact. This is not a This is actually a fun fact. So did you know
Oh,
that
edge of my seat.
Mussolini, right, was the fascist leader of Italy during World War II, right?
I do know that.
You do know that. That's good. And then Hitler was the fascist leader of Germany. But before like Germany became
Oh
like
yeah.
Nazi Germany, before Adolf Hitler was like anything at all, he actually visited Mussolini like in Italy when he was like giving one of his speeches, and he wanted to get an autograph of Mussolini, right? Because he was like the sole fascist like leader at the time.
I was a big
Yeah,
fan.
and
Yeah,
like
big fan.
the Nazi Party is like very like inspired by the original fascist party from Mussolini. So Hitler actually
Did he?
went to like Italy and he wanted to get
That's
a
badass.
autograph from Mussolini and
Huh.
Mussolini was like, "No, who's this like random like idiot?" And then
So
like
he didn't even get to get an audience or anything.
yeah, like nothing at all. And then like 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 years later, Mussolini was like trying like his hardest to like be allies with the very same person he turned down cuz like Germany was a much more developed nation than Italy and like Italy was fucking horrible during the war. So it's kind of
Oh
funny how
shit.
like the tables turned or like
I didn't know that there was that Mussolini was like struggling to be allies with Germany. All you ever hear is like how the Axis powers were all
it
homies.
was it was it was kind of close because the tripartite pact was signed literally in like 1939, like early 1939, which is literally when the war started, right? Because
Yeah.
at first Italy was trying to get really close with the United Kingdom because they didn't really want the UK to like dominate the Mediterranean because they knew they had a bigger fleet, right? And they only really had like Mediterranean ambitions. So they thought that if they could ally with the UK, they could like take on France, blah blah blah. But obviously the UK is a democratic nation, so they'd be like, no. And it was only a lot later that in 1939, like I said, where the tripartite pact was finally signed between Italy, Japan, and Germany, which was like the Axis, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess the interesting part is that like during the war, Italy was like always seen as like a loser in the war because like they had a very incompetent military, like incompetent leadership, right? And like they would declare war on people, and then like they would always need to ask Germany for help because Germany would inevitably be dragged into it because they're part of the same like alliance or whatever, right? So it's kind of
So Italy
interesting.
declares war, and then they're like, but help
Yeah,
me.
I mean Italy couldn't take on like Greece, like the North African campaign, like is was an Italian versus UK campaign, but it's largely remembered for its German versus UK like counterparts, right? Like with like Rommel and like the desert tanks, right? But it was
He's
originally
they're
like
definitely the highest remembered.
yeah, but it
Yeah.
was originally like it's Italian land, right? Like they were fighting on Italian versus UK. So Germany had to help them like in almost all of their campaigns.
So do you feel like Germany would have been better off not having them?
Hmm. No, I mean regardless like manpower is manpower, right? Like they could garrison. It was definitely better to have Italy than to not have Italy. The only people they declared war on like that Germany itself did not was Greece and maybe Yugoslavia. I think Yugoslavia and Greece were the only two like Balkan nations and they like fell extremely fast. So it wasn't even like that big of a problem. And like, like regardless, like just extra manpower never hurts, right? Like bodies on the front line. So no, it was definitely better to have them in the war than not.
So let me ask you this. I mean, you obviously are invested in and passionate about these historical relationships, and you can articulate what made them important. There are different levels of importance at different times. So, but I know that your career is has nothing to do with that.
No.
Did you only recently develop a historical interest, or is that something that's purely a hobby for you?
Well, I mean, I would take it as purely a hobby. And I would say it developed around 2014. So definitely like when I was entering high school. Uh, and I don't know, I've always seen it as a hobby. I don't know, it's just fun to learn about. And it also helps that a lot of the games I play have like historical like time periods. Like Europa Universalis 4 is like it starts like with the world at like 1444 and then it just goes to 1820, right? And like just playing that game alone, like you see a lot of like interesting historical like it's alt history obviously because you're not like playing the timeline itself, like you're playing an alternate timeline where you're controlling like a random
Right.
country. But like seeing that game and then seeing like what could be done and then like it kind of like transitions to like independent like learning where I like go on YouTube or whatever, I read a book about it.
And do you feel like there's a feedback loop where your increased familiarity with these different historical figures or historical powers and their relationships with each other allows you to make more educated or concrete or useful decisions in the game space?
Definitely not. I mean, like
Oh,
no, like because that game has like its own mechanics, right? It's more like ambitions, right? Like for example, if I was playing like Byzantium, for example, like because Byzantium is still like there, which was technically the Roman Empire. Like when I play that nation, like inevitably my ambition for that campaign is to reform the Roman Empire, like in its totality, right? Because like I don't know, it's kind of like role play, because you like role
right.
play the country and like the country in would definitely want to like reform the Roman Empire because they literally were the Roman Empire. They want to regain all of its lost territories, blah blah blah. You know, playing like United, playing like England is like number one goal at the very beginning of the game is like I want to form Great Britain. I want to like unite the like British Isles, right? And then like the rest of the game is like I just want to colonize random shit and like take it. and like
That sounds like Britain.
and abuse natives and like you know become the
Yep.
dominant economic superpower. Like that's what Britain wants to do, and like that ambition is there. But like if you really want to play the meta, then like there's a lot of other things you can do that's technically like more efficient. But I kind
but
of like
not very
role playing.
realistic.
Yeah, like I kind of like role
I
playing
see.
like these nations through like the lens of like what they could have done or like what they would aspire to do.
Do you do any like current event type study where you look at the nation states of today and their relationships and try to determine what moves to make to facilitate like relationship growth or development?
In like today, like as in like
Like the modern,
modern. Well,
just out of curiosity.
I don't play any historical. I mean, I don't really play any like modern games where like it's the modern world. I am aware of like the loose like political like landscape of the world, but I don't really play any games that like take place in this era.
Oh, I gotcha. So it's really like encapsulated, like those couple of hundred
Yeah, and
years.
then I think World War II is another like big one that I'm a big fan of, like historical period. It's really interesting to
Right,
me.
you gotta clarify. Like,
I
don't love
don't
the
love the
war,
war.
just love the
The war
historical
was
period.
awful. It was brutal, but
War
the
sucks.
history behind it is very interesting.
I gotcha. So, if is there like, are there any other like major historical periods that you are into besides, I mean, this broad European chunk and World War II?
I think those are the main ones. Like I'm interested in like the totality of history where like I wouldn't say no to like learning about like Bronze Age or like the collapse of the Bronze Age and shit like that. But like I'm definitely like leaning towards like more modernish history, like the last 500, 600 years is definitely like the most like interesting because you can like see like how it like ended up where we are today, right? But like when you look
Yeah,
like 2000 years ago, like you can be like, oh, like ancient like Mesopotamia, like some ancient fucking like ancient Egypt, like it's nothing. Like you can't even like relate, right? Like you can't even like the cultures were completely different. But like if you look like 500 years ago, you can be like, you know, the Greek people lived here, here, and here, and like to this day they remain in most of their lands, ancient lands.
so it's kind of like you can
You can
connect the
connect the
dots.
dots. You can like you can yeah. Like I like being able to get to modern history from history to say to the present. So like I've actually learned history backwards in a way where I started at World War II and like modern, and then like I went back to like Victorian era, and then I went back to like
Oh wow.
Enlightenment, and then I went back to like Industrial Revolution and shit like that, and then like colonialization, and like I'm about
Oh,
to
I think that's super cool.
yeah, because I went backwards so I can like end up to like present day. I don't know. That's just the way I learned.
So my immediate reaction to that would, I feel like there's going to be diminishing returns after a while, because the further back you go, the less direct information there is about the cultures of the time,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
which which seems like it would make it pretty tough to. And once you get to whatever like pre-Magellan era, it's like what even is going
Yeah,
on?
no. I mean that's why like those are like the least interesting time periods for me is like all these like really ancient like where there's like almost like no historical like where like there's evidence but there's no like historical like writings or
Yeah,
like
the parchment's all
yeah like we have
disintegrated
no
long
fucking
ago.
idea like was this even a war like I guess maybe I don't know like all of that is just like meh to me I really like the yeah just like the last 500 years specifically because it's all like documented very well.
Yeah, that's got to be the bonus. And boy, it is going to be overwhelming for historical archivists of the future to try to sift through the massive glut of data that we create today.
It's gonna be fucking nuts.
I can't even imagine. Like it'd be like you'll have people whose whole careers are to look at like 15 people on Twitter or something.
Well, I don't think historians would look at people on Twitter. I
You don't
don't
think
think
so? In another
so.
like
Unless it's
hundred
like
years,
Donald
really?
Trump, maybe. I don't know. Like, unless it's like some kind of
I mean,
important,
well,
like,
not like random people, but like important
well,
people.
well,
You know?
well,
That's
sure,
what.
but like, I think at that point, like, there's gonna be like a bot that you like literally like, I like give me all the data on like this like
Give me
Twitter
all the
story,
data.
and it just fucking like slaps down like a document in front of you. And like, yeah, you can read it, but you can probably read that in like fucking like 3-4 hours unless like somebody tweets a shit ton, right?
I don't know. I think people tweet a lot, but yeah, I mean, all I know is there's a lot more data now, and it's interesting to think about what your type of like approach to studying development of history, what that'll look like in another couple of
Well, I mean,
decades.
I don't think it will change that drastically. Like, we'll still focus on like the very important events. It'll be like, oh, like the housing market crash was this point. Like this is like why it happened. And then like, we won't look at like people's like Twitters and like how they react to like that'll be interesting for sure. Like, I'm sure there'll be people who do that. But in totality, history is gonna just be like there was a war between X country, like the 9/11 attacks happened here, and like the
Mm-hmm.
response was this, and this caused like this conflict, right?
So you think that there's going to be like a distilling down to these key
Well, that's the
events?
way history is already. Like,
Well, right, but there's also less to go off of before, is what I mean. Like now we've got so much stuff.
well, like, what do you mean by so much stuff? You mean like just like people's like Twitter stories, or like, are you
Well,
saying
not
that we
just
have like
that, but
more like world events going on?
well, not even that we have more world events. I mean, we probably do because there are more people than there used to be and more interaction between people. But I guess what I really mean is that I think there's more documentation of the interaction of the people and more interpretations of the interaction. Like you've got how many tens of thousands of newspapers that are, you know, like spinning their own interpretation of an event, and people are going to be able to debate or try to decide together what narratives are correct. I mean, 20 years ago when 9/11 happened, I think there were and still are, very few perspectives that are like acceptable in my opinion uh, on things like that. And maybe now compared to then, there's a lot more discussion that goes on about everything. So maybe I'm thinking in the future there's gonna be more discussion about that sort of thing. But it's hard to say, man. We'll have
I
to
mean,
wait and see.
maybe, but I don't know. I still think that like there'll be like an overall like kind of like maybe at like some high level like historian level. But if it was like someone like me who's just like, oh, I want to like learn about like how the like the year 2000 was, or like the following 10 years, is gonna be like a very like
Holy shit! Do those sneakers have
those
wheels?
sneakers had wheels. Believe it or not,
That was
believe it
that's
or not,
sick.
those things could roll you down a fucking hill. But it'll be a very like I don't know like strict where it's just like yeah it's just like dates on this date this happened. If you really want to talk about like the reasoning behind certain decisions like that will be difficult. I agree with that.
Yeah.
That'll be more difficult than before because I mean even to this day like people talk about like the justification of many leaders in like World War II and like why they did what they did, which is like I guess what I'm comparing this to. And like since there are like so many more like sources and like data, yeah, like that would be even more hotly debated. But like that was always like a very like niche part of like uh I don't want to say niche, but like a very like you got to get into it to like start debating this kind of thing, you know? Like on surface paper, like you can just say like World War II happened, like our Operation Barbarossa when the Germans invaded the Soviets happened, and like the Soviet forces were unprepared, and like that's why
Right.
they lost so much ground, right? And like that's like
I think I get what you're
that's a
saying.
pretty good like Like that's exactly what happened. But then like when you start asking like, oh, but why were the Soviet forces unprepared? That's like a whole new level of like that's like getting into like historian level of like wanting to know like exactly what happened. And even to this day, like I haven't really found like one specific reason. Like some people say one thing, some people say another. There's a lot of like speculation even about this decision, like why were the Soviets so unprepared? And like there's a lot of like facts about why they weren't, and there's a lot of speculation. Uh, and that will always be a part of history.
Yeah, I guess it's a question of nuance and detail. Because you're right. I mean, ultimately, you can always get it down to like the briefest of
Yeah, like
information.
this is what happened. Like that is history, but like why or like how, you know?
Yeah,
That's
it's like, 1215, Magna Carta, everyone's hanging out, but then it's like, what are they hanging out about? Here's like a 1,000 page
yeah.
paper on it.
Like you can go very specific in these type of things.
Well, man, I appreciate the perspective on those events. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Myself, I'm never, I'm more of a modern history guy than a long ago history
Mm-hmm.
guy, but I'm into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess what I want to segue into is basically saying, we've been talking a while.
Yeah.
I had some things to mention. I mentioned all of them. I had some random nouns. Mention those. I got to give you the floor. Like, is there anything else you want to say to the audience of like maybe high estimate 6 or 7 people that are going to make it this
You
far?
think 6 or 7 people are gonna make this far?
Oh yeah, over like the rest of human
Over the
history,
rest
sure.
of human history. But like, all right. How about this? How many people do you think are gonna make it like in the next like week or like whenever this posted, like a week after this is posted, to this like the entire
Um,
thing? Because I'm thinking like
well, let me think.
one, maybe two.
Well, there's already two. There's
Okay,
already
but
two because you and
ignoring
I heard
us,
all of it.
ignoring us. Some
Oh,
like
okay.
foreign entities.
Hmm. Well, I think that there were like a half dozen people that listened to the thing with
Hmm.
Virgil, and you're more popular than her.
Wow,
So I think 6 or 7,
that's
like I said.
impossible. I don't believe it. No, that's impossible.
All right, we'll see. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
there
fine.
there needs
How about you say it to the one person then? Obviously, Pincus is going to listen all the way through,
is he?
and so will we Fit Trainer.
We
That's two.
fit. All right, there has to be like a secret word. Like if you got this far, like you gotta. Uh, what's something I would never say?
All right. Whatever Live says next, you have to post that in the How to Podcast channel, and that'll prove that you're a devout listener.
Invisibility. Just say invisibility. Invisibility
Invisibility.
is the
That's good.
word.
They just like hit spacebar and then enter.
I feel like half of them are gonna write ha 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 ha. That's what he said.
They have to like figure out how to type out that crazy laugh that you did. It's like
Oh
HGUH.
no, high pitched squeals and such.
Well, I think we had a good time. We had a good time.
Okay.
All right, man. All right, man.
All right.
So live.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa! You know what I
Mm.
just noticed? Our names rhyme.
Chives and live. Because you have
Yeah.
an S.
Well. Hmm.
Does that does not rhyme.
It uh. It still does. It's still all right. That's a hotly
It
debated
doesn't.
topic. In addition to posting the secret word, comment whether or not you think that chives and live rhyme because that's up for debate.
Chives. Real fast.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
water wet?
yeah.
It's not wet.
Unless you only have one
No,
molecule
it's
of it,
not
then
wet.
no. Oh, I
It's
think
not
it is
wet.
wet. Wait a minute.
Water is not wet.
Define wet.
I'm gonna go on Google and give you the real fucking definition of wet.
All right, let's hear it, dude.
Covered or saturated with water or another liquid.
Huh, so what did I say? Only one molecule of water, not wet. Two molecules, they're both wet. Boom, I
No,
nailed
no,
it.
no, 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 no. Fuck, I had a good. I had a. You see, I kind of like I threw this question out too early because I know I had a very good because I had a very long debate about why water is not wet. Uh, fuck. I feel like a clown.
I think this is the perfect capstone.
Water is not wet. There's nothing else to say. Like
Oh.
water is like itself in totality. You cannot like water touching itself like it is just water. Water cannot be wet because like
Hmm.
that wetness is the water itself. You know, like what causes a rock to be wet is the fact that there is like water on that rock, on that surface.
Yep.
Water cannot be wet.
I agree. Okay, let me. All right,
Like
listen,
I
listen.
understand what you're trying
I
to say
haven't.
that like oh like technically
Listen.
it's like
Okay.
the water like if a molecule is touching like other water then like
Uh
it's on
huh.
the surface of that water.
Oh, so you understand
But
that?
it's not on the surface. It's a liquid.
Okay, we
It's
gotta
just
listen.
an entirety of water.
Let me. All right, real quick, bud. Let me just draw a quick comparison for you. Okay, let's say that there is a similar uh description to wet. We're gonna call it pennied, and it's if something is covered in pennies. All right. Now you've got one penny just sitting there on the table. Is that penny pennied? Hell no, it's just a penny. But if you get a second penny, you put that shit on top of the first penny, you got two pennied pennies, dude.
What? No, 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 no. No.
Rest
No,
my
that's
case.
stupid. No, you can't just like
Rest
be
my
like, "Yo,
case.
I'm gonna make a new definition, and this is why that definition."
No, that's exactly what you said wet was.
Wet,
Shit is covered in
wet
water.
is shit is covered in water. Water is
Yeah,
not
that's what you
covered
said.
in water.
It is if there's enough water.
No,
Enough two of water.
it's like it's itself in totality. You can't like water is not wet.
But water is surrounded by water, which is what you said the definition of wet was.
But I'm pretty sure.
And you even made a point of going onto the Googler.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it's like it's supposed to imply that it's like a solid material. It's not like a liquid.
Definitions are not supposed to imply
I know
anything.
that's the problem.
It's okay, live. You know, when you come back on for live episode 2 in 3 years, we'll revisit this argument. It's been a real honor.
Definition of wet.
You got anything to say to your fans out there?
Water is not wet.
No, not to me,
That's
to your
for my
fans.
fans.
Oh, okay. All right, you heard the
Maybe
man.
I'm wrong.
Never think that. Never think that again. You just got to believe in yourself,
Nah, I don't
buddy.
know. I'm
I
reading all
believe in
these
you.
definitions, and now like my perspective has changed. I don't know why I
Oh, well,
believe
in
that
that case,
water is wet, because I came into that argument like already believing that water was wet. But now that I'm reading these arguments, like, yeah, it's not implying it's solid. Water can touch itself, like all the different like molecules.
yeah, man.
Whatever. This is a super
I think we both.
conversation.
I think we both learned a lot today.
I don't. Sure.
Live. Later, dude. It's over.